What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Find Your Force Project. I'm Dr. Alex Brewer. I'm your host and the founder of Sanctus Nutrition. Our goal here with the podcast, as with everything we do at Sanctus Nutrition, is to get you looking, feeling, and performing your best. This week's episode I'm pretty excited about. It's a fellow pharmacist colleague of mine, Dr. Antonio Booker. So Dr. Booker is a pharmacy manager by day and a kick-ass Olympic lifter by night. He was an all-district running and defensive back at Louisville Male High School, an all-state track athlete as well, and played college football at Thomas More College in Kentucky. Dr. Booker was introduced to CrossFit after graduating college and began competing while training at CrossFit Maximus in Lexington, Kentucky, while he was studying at the University of Kentucky College of Pharmacy, which is actually where we met. Dr. Booker qualified for his first Olympic lifting meet in 2017 and has been a full-time Olympic lifter ever since. I got to see him compete at the Arnold Expo 2018, which was my first Olympic lifting competition I've ever seen, and it was incredible. It was a great experience. I really don't have a big understanding of the Olympic lifts, which is kind of what led me to want to have Dr. Booker on the podcast. So we dive deep into CrossFit, into Olympic lifting, how he manages to work 12-hour pharmacy shifts and still work out multiple times per week, his ambitions as far as opening his own gym, the vision he has for his training facility in the Louisville, Kentucky area. Lots of good stuff on this episode. So I'm going to shut up so you can listen to Dr. Booker speak. Please enjoy this conversation with Dr. Antonio Booker. Dr. Booker, welcome to the podcast.
How's it going, man?
Going great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just relaxing on a Sunday before we start the week off again.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited to have you on. You and I have spoken frequently. We talk about nutrition, working out a lot. So I'm excited to get your knowledge out there to everyone watching and listening. I want to start off just a little intro and background on yourself. So ever since the time I've known you, well, we met in pharmacy school. You've been a very athletic, very active person. Was this always the case growing up?
Yeah, growing up, it was between two things. I, kind of a nerd, but I always fell in love with sports too. So I was either reading books, doing homework, or football, baseball, basketball practice. Even though I sucked at basketball, I did it anyway. But definitely always did some type of athletics, and the rest of the time, I was doing some nerd stuff. So
You mentioned several sports. I know you went on to play football in college. What was high school football kind of your introduction to lifting?
Yeah, just like the traditional, bench, squat, curls, all that stuff, shoulder presses. That's basically what we did at football. We did do power cleans and stuff in high school. Got a little bit more advanced at college. Actually having like a set plan. Especially during the summers, our coaches would send us home with a little booklet, giving us things to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Just to keep our strength up during the year or during the summer before we came back for summer conditioning and camp.
Are there some of those training principles you still use today?
Yeah, for the most part. Like I said, bench, squat, that'll never go away. Deadlift, stuff like that. And then I did get reintroduced to the clean in college, which is very good for explosion and building a good base of strength. And then that took that was a little bit more advanced, which because our coaches actually were able to teach us when I got to college the semi-proper technique, I guess.
Would you say that you got into the Olympic lifting and especially competing, which we're gonna dive deep on here in a bit, but would part of that come from missing the competition you had in football?
Yeah, the missing the competition in football, that's what led me to CrossFit. I graduated college in 2013, and one of my teammates opened up a CrossFit gym called CrossFit the Tracks up in Northern Kentucky. He brought me in for a workout, and I've never been through a workout that I couldn't finish. Even through all the years of college sports, track, football, everything, it sucked, but I'd always get through it. And I did my first CrossFit workout, came in dead last, and behind people that, like on the eye test, I looked more athletic then. And it was a very humbling experience because, you come in fresh off football, this giant head, giant ego. I'm all conference this, all conference that. And I go to CrossFit, get my ass handed to me by some 55-year-old man. And it was definitely a humbling experience. So that's where I got introduced to Olympic lifting, did CrossFit full time for about 4 years. And then I just switched to Olympic lifting last spring full time. So you do CrossFit competitions like locally, and just that kind of led that same competition, I guess, itch or urge led to me doing Olympic lifting competitions as well.
What are your current PRs on? I want to ask about a couple lifts, but you can also throw in different ones you want. So back squat.
Back squat, I just PR like a month ago. Did 185 kilos. Excuse me, which is roughly about 407 pounds. And right now, I sit in between like 84 and 86 kilo body weight, so roughly 100 kilos over my body weight.
What about front squat? You have one of the stronger front squats I've seen.
Yeah, front squat is, I've actually don't have a true 1 rep max. I've done a 2 rep max at 139 kilos, which is like 310 pounds maybe. I can do some quick math. 306, sorry. But at the Arnold, I clean and jerked 132. So my coach now has me working off 145 because he says, like, there's no reason your clean and jerk and front squat should only be 7 kilos off. So we bumped my front squat a little bit. I actually don't know my true 1 rep for my front squat.
Between back and front squat, do you have a preference?
I would say, like, I feel obviously your back squat is higher and stronger. You get that more like savage mode, if you will. Front squat's actually really technical. You got to do a lot of things right. But the thing I like about the front squat the most is that it's always going to be there. Like, even if you don't have the legs that day, you can still get away with it and get your front squats done. But, back squats, especially the higher your numbers get, if you're not, if you didn't eat right the night before and get proper nutrition, enough sleep, you're not hydrated, you'll have trouble back squatting 75%. So on a day-to-day, front squats typically go better for me, but I'm more comfortable with the back squat because I've done it since I've been in sport. So
What about deadlift?
I actually haven't deadlifted in a super long time since I quit doing CrossFit. So before that, my best deadlift was 455 pounds. But in Olympic lifting, you're only going to deadlift as much as you clean. So, we'll do clean deadlifts and snatch deadlifts, like at 110%. So add 10, 15 kilos on. But, there's really no reason to train for me to deadlift 200 kilos if I'm never going to clean 200 kilos. So, because then your bar throws your bar path off and everything, struggling to get a max deadlift doesn't really equate to your proper bar path for Olympic lifting.
Are you still bench pressing?
More dumbbell now. Yeah, I do a lot of it. Not a lot, like once or twice a week, I'll go do accessory work at LAC. Just because Olympic lifting is all legs.
Mm-hmm.
So once I stopped doing CrossFit, I came in Olympic lifting and I started to lose a little bit of, just upper body mass. So I started adding in, some arm circuits and stuff. So I do dumbbell bench. But before that, I was up to 275 pounds on the bench press.
You mentioned clean and jerk. What about snatch?
Right now I'm at 102 kilos, which is 224 pounds. But at the Arnold, I hit 100 kilos relatively easy. I was having a really good day. So, I'm thinking I might be like 105, 106, but obviously I have to do the number first. But
yeah, and we will, for everyone watching and listening, we will link to Antonio's Instagram at the end of this. But if you'd like to watch those videos, I was there. It was awesome. That's first competition for Olympic lifting I've ever watched, and it was awesome to watch, man. You killed it. We had a lot of fun cheering you on, and
yeah, it's
you were pumped to throw that up.
Do what?
I said we could just tell you were pumped
Oh yeah.
when you got that up there.
Oh yeah. That
So
was that 132 was not only it was a 2 kilo lifetime PR, which is very rare to do at a competition, but a 7 kilo competition PR. So, it's kind of all those 5 a.m. workouts kind of all just hit me that it actually paid off. So it's definitely a relieving feeling. So
you mentioned a little bit about what your current routine looks like. Can you give us some details on your current training?
yeah, so it depends on my work day. At work I do a 2 week oscillation schedule. So, I work 12-hour shifts. So I do it Monday, Tuesday, then I'm off 2 days, then I work the weekend, and then I just work like Wednesday, Thursday the next week. So the days that I train and work, get up about 5:15, get to the gym around 6 o'clock, train from 6 to 8, then I'm at work 9 to 9. The days that I'm off of work, I sleep in. So, get up around like 9 o'clock maybe. I always try to make myself stay in bed until 9, even if I'm not sleeping, just to, you know, kind of rest and recover as much as possible. And then I'll kind of get to the gym, still train for about 2.5 hours, and then, enjoy the rest of the day.
What do your 2.5 hour sessions look like?
Depends on the time of the year, and if I'm in meat, what we call a meat prep.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, and it's a lot of complexes. So, I'm doing like snatch deadlifts with some snatches and some presses, cleans and a front squats, different things like that. So, like the current cycle that I'm on, it's an endurance cycle just to try to, build muscular endurance at this point. So I'm training the snatch and a clean and jerk on the same day, um, just about every day. And then so we'll do some snatch work, usually 1 to 2 different types, some cleans, and then I'll go into some squats. And then 2 days a week we do accessory, like core accessory. So I'm doing like good mornings to strengthen my posterior chain, hyper extensions for the back, um, GHD setup, whatever it might be, just to
Mm-hmm.
basically give me a well-rounded core. Because you do use your core a lot in Olympic lifting, but it's still good to train other ways. So typically about 4 to 5 movements. Right now we're like in an endurance and volume cycle, but like later in the year, we work on what we call macro cycles. So typically each macro cycle is about 12 weeks. And then you have 4 meso cycles, which are typically 3 to 4 weeks with a deload week in there. So like at the end of that 12 weeks is where you want to accomplish the goal that you set out, from the beginning. While things change every 3 to 4 weeks, you might increase numbers for 3 weeks, then a deload, and kind of get back on track, stuff like that. So if I'm in a meet prep, like say if I'm going to compete this September, I'll start the meet prep around like July-ish, and then we'll start to go down on the reps, and it's more just single lifts, just hit snatches, hit a clean and jerk, no complexes really. Just try to, hone in on the technique.
Gotcha. So the weeks leading up to a competition, you say you're more focused on the technique versus
Right.
adding weight at that point?
Yeah. Right now, obviously, we still work on technique every day for safety and efficiency. But right now, we're doing a lot of complexes. So, like for example, the other day we had to do 2 deadlifts and 2 cleans and then 2 front squats. So after my third set of that, technique kind of goes out the window, and you just close your eyes and try to get it done. But we won't do any complexes like that like a month before competition. We're just doing single rep clean and jerks and single rep snatches just to, just get sharper and faster.
Right, right. With so at that 8 to 12 week point before a competition, do you have the numbers you want to hit already planned?
Yeah. Um, it mainly depends on how your training has been going. So my goal personally is to increase my competition total about 2 kilos and each lift about 1 kilo. That's just that's just for me a good mental way to stay on track and
Hmm.
kind of like, have a goal in mind to kind of, prep yourself for it. But if a month before I haven't hit any number, like any good numbers, and everything just feels like crap, and the day of it still feels like crap, we might just say, hey, let's just try to get 6 good lifts and hit whatever we can hit. Um, so typically my coaches on my snatch will jump me about 7 kilos total from my first lift through like from my first lift through my third. And clean and jerk is typically 10, but that's how the other competitions went. But at the Arnold, I had a really, really good day. End up jumping from, I think I started at 91 kilos and finished at 100 on my snatch. And then I was supposed to open at 116 on my clean and jerk, but we bumped my opener to 121 because everything just felt great. I went from 121 to 127 to get a competition PR, and then went on 132 for a lifetime PR. So, I'll still only jump 10 kilos, but from my plan, I actually jumped like 16. So,
Looking back at the Arnold and looking at your training before then, can you point to anything in particular that you believe led to you having such a good competition to where you were able to jump your weights so much higher than you planned?
yeah, definitely just actually having a really good planned out, I guess, just like a really good plan with my coaches.
Hmm.
And my programming is just honestly just been really spot on in terms of like when I first transitioned to Olympic lifting from CrossFit, I was just doing things online. It was like generic programming, not tailored for me. The intensity was really high, so every day was like 90%, but the reps were always really low. And I thought that was what Olympic lifting is all about. But last fall, I transitioned with my new coaches at White Buffalo Barbell, um, and they actually had me a legit program and you know increasing the numbers safely. And while it kind of sucks sometimes because you're feeling really good, but you can only hit 78 or 80%, and you're like, oh no, if I try to hit a PR, I'd get it. But you got to prime your central nervous system for these lifts. So um, the timing of everything just worked out really, really well. I came off my deload and off my taper for the meet, and it all just lined up perfectly. And my nervous system was ready for some big lifts, and we got it done.
You definitely got it done. Do they? Is this planned almost in like a reverse manner? So you set your goal, and then you look at the week before, and then you plan almost in reverse.
Uh, it depends. I don't know exactly how my coaches do it, but that's typically how I do it when I program for my athletes.
Hmm.
So when I do my 12-week cycle, um, I kind of have a goal in mind that all right, I'm gonna give them a chance to. I call it heavy single. I don't say 1 rep max because some athletes kind of psych themselves out. So I just tell them, go hit a heavy single snatch and a heavy single clean and jerk. So then I like to increase the percentage of each reps, like the max percentage, about 2 to 3% points each week. So the week leading up, like before that 1 rep max, if it's going to be that Saturday, the Saturday before, I'll have them hit about 95, 96. And then the weeks before that, 2 weeks before that, is around 91, 92. And, you just keep kind of backtracking for the full 12 weeks. But then, like I said, you throw a deload week on your every fourth week to kind of have them reset because without those deload weeks, you'll definitely run yourself into the ground.
After a competition, do you do a deload week, or do you do a complete week off, or what does that time frame look like before you start gearing up again?
It's a full week off, um, especially for a meet where you taper for. So when we taper, we get really, really heavy 2 weeks leading up to the competition. So like the Arnold was the first weekend of March. So about the second week of February, I actually attempted PRs on both my lifts. But even the weeks before that, all our training was at 90, 92, 95%, only hitting 6, 7, 10 reps at each lift for that day. But, everything was really heavy and about moderate back squats and front squats. So if you taper for a meet, you get basically almost a month or 3 weeks of, prime numbers, everything above 90%. And you kind of take 3 days, so then like the Monday I was hitting like 85, Tuesday it was 80, Wednesday it was like 75. Then the day before the Arnold, I just moved around a little bit at 70%. And then, you go out there and, give it all you got. So after that, your nervous system is just completely taxed. Even if you wanted to get out of bed and do anything, you're not. You gotta give yourself a break and let all your joints and everything heal, because you're getting six max effort lifts. So you definitely want to give yourself proper time to heal.
Speaking of recovery, do you do any sort of active recovery techniques like foam rolling, stretching, that kind of work?
I'll foam roll if something's really tight, but for the most part, I just on my off days from work, I'll do a RomWOD, which is like a yoga. He's real involved in CrossFit. That's how I came across it. So I still do RomWOD about 2 to 3 days a week.
From Kelly Starrett, right?
I believe it's his name. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm familiar with that. And we will provide links to everything that Antonio mentions, as well as links to some video instruction for the movements discussed. Do you do any cardio along the way? How does that programming look?
Most weightlifters don't do cardio. That was the biggest difference for me coming from CrossFit to Olympic lifting. Was that there's just zero, unless you want to, once you get high reps into your back squats, like sixes and eights, you definitely get short of breath. Um, when I'm not prepping for a meet, so about I would say within 2 months, sometimes even 3 months of a competition, I won't do any cardio. Like, so right now, if I have a day that's relatively light, just power lifts, no squats, nothing super heavy, I'll go do a CrossFit Metcon just to kind of, honestly, just to move and breathe heavy, burn a few extra calories, because while I don't like cardio, I do like what it does for my body. So about once or twice a week, I'll try to. Right now, and I'm typically probably like once every 2 weeks, honestly, just because with my schedule and then with how intense our training has been right now, I just don't have the energy to go do a Metcon.
I love that a supposed light day for you is going and doing a CrossFit workout.
Yeah.
How do your coaches program your nutrition along the way? Because I know with Olympic lifting, you're also in a certain weight class. So you also have to not only hit these huge lifts, but you also have to make sure that your nutrition is, I think a lot of people have this impression of, I think this may apply more to powerlifting, but I think there's also this stereotype in Olympic lifting that you just eat whatever you want to get as big as possible so you can get as strong as possible. And that's, I believe to be the opposite case. And I think you can speak more on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely mass moves mass, that's the ultimate goal. But it's a lot different than, kind of um, the LAC motto where I'm just going to get as big as possible to lift the most weight. Because like you said, we do have weight classes. So I'm in the 85 kilogram weight class. So you still have to eat. What I'm figuring out now is how to eat right to look good and feel good, but also eat right to feel my body. Because when I was doing CrossFit, I was doing so much cardio that I honestly could eat whatever I wanted. I still had abs and everything and the whole nine. But after a year of Olympic lifting, I kind of had to reel in my diet because, I got on the scale and I was like, oh, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, that's not me. Cause you're not, like I said, my legs and everything grew and I got a lot stronger, but, you definitely lose your shape. So right now, like I'm still working on it. My fiance is too. Like we're just focusing on eating the right things to not only like help with recovery, but proper fuel, because you don't really realize when the older you get, the more important food is for if you want to stay active. I'm not 21 and in college anymore and can go eat Taco Bell, then go do 2 days of football and be perfectly fine. So yeah, so like I don't eat not to get big, but that's also not my goal. Um, it definitely behooves you to stay at the top of your weight class. Like I said, because mass moves mass. So when I first started Olympic lifting, I was about 81 kilos. Um, and now I'm roughly 4.5 kilos heavier, but I'm I've added on like 20 kilos to my total. So that comes a little bit in part the mass, but also me getting stronger as a person or as an
Mhm.
athlete. So it's you got to find the balance. You know, if I sit at 86 kilos, after watching yourself for a day and getting some techniques done, to drop a kilo overnight, it's not really that bad for a competition. So I can make weight.
Do you count your macros and calories at all?
I do not. My fiance does, but since obviously we live together and we're always together, I kind of count by default. But I just started paying more attention to what I'm eating, making sure only thing I do look for is the fat content. Besides that, I don't count carbs, I don't count protein. Because I know just from having such a long knowledge of athletics and stuff, I kind of already know what's in there. So like I said, but if I'm out somewhere and I'm picking something up, I do check the fat content. I like to make sure that everything that I eat is less than like 10% of my daily fat, because you're already going to get about 50 to 60 from the food you eat, especially if you eat any type of meat, whether that's chicken. I mean, they're already lean meats, but they still have some fat content.
Mhm.
You got to think about, the things that you put on it. If you're going to cook anything with avocado, while that's a good fat, it's still fat. So, you definitely, it might not seem like a big idea to, get a bag of chocolate covered almonds, but they have 25% fat. That one thing a day can blow your fat content way out of the water, and you're starving yourself of things that it needs.
You mentioned working 12-hour shifts.
Hmm.
What does your typical food intake look like on those days? I think that a lot of people tend to use their job or schedule as an excuse to let their nutrition slide. How do you prevent that from happening?
Well, I'm fortunate. I have a friend. Her name's Amber Pepper. She owns Prepping with Peppers meal prep company. It's a mouthful. But she does. Her kitchen's out in J Town. She does two pickups in J Town and then in the south end of Louisville, right there at, off the Greenbelt. I can't remember the name of the CrossFit gym she's at now. But yeah, she does her own meal prep, and meals are very affordable. She does two styles. One's just a regular meal. One's called a power meal, which has about 200 more calories. I think she bumps up the protein and the carbs about 30%. So typically, what you're gonna eat, like right after you work out. But just because of work, I'm kind of forced to do intermittent fasting. Did my research on it, and it kind of, it made sense. Keeping your insulin low in the morning, kind of eat away at your stored fats, and then eat a bunch at night. So I get my meals from her on the days that I work. So I'll eat that around like 3, maybe 4 o'clock, depending on how the work day goes. Because while you like to think pharmacy's predictable, a lot of days are very unpredictable. So I don't get to eat around the lunchtime because, of course, that's when everyone's coming in to get scripts. So I try to sneak in my first meal between like my lunch rush and then right before my evening rush gets there. And then I'll eat another one of her meals when I get home, unless Kelly was off that or got off early that day and then go to the gym and she's able to cook something. Um, but typically, since I work so late, and if she goes to the gym, she doesn't get home till like 8 o'clock anyway. On my off days, we do almost a no carb dinner now. So don't do keto. It's not for me. I'm not gonna bash anybody or keto or anybody that does it. Um, it's a whole another hour podcast for another day. We're going to discuss the keto diet, but I do a no carb dinner just because I get off at 9, get home at 9:30, eat. By the time I get ready for bed, get my stuff ready for the next day, it's already 11. I got to be back up at 5. So you don't want to eat a ton of carbs right before bed because it just sits with you. So you know, substitute rice and noodles for like vegetables. So I've been on Pinterest and use a bunch of squash and stuff instead of actually cooking with rice or noodles or pasta.
Did you know Amber before she started the meal prep company, or did you meet her through that?
It was about simultaneous because we were working out of the same CrossFit gym originally.
Okay.
When I moved back to Louisville for good from Lexington once I graduated, she started going to the gym that I was going to, and then she had just started her meal prep company. So I was like, sure, like she would bring samples to the gym, and I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, free food, I'll take it. And it was not only was it free food, but it was good food and it was good for you. So she definitely has my business as long as I'm in town.
You thought the free food ended when you graduated, and then
Yeah,
kept going. So it sounds like she specifically targets athletes with her meals.
I think that's by default. Because in today's society, for you to work and take your health into your own hands, that pretty much takes up all your day. And if you try to throw a family life on top of that, like you know, the work-life balance nowadays is just it's strenuous. So mainly athletes are the ones who kind of sacrifice that extra 2 hours a day of relaxation with at the gym. So that's less time to cook, that's less time to be with your family. So having something you can throw in the microwave in 2 minutes and eat is, very crucial. So, but I think she just pulls a lot of athletes because she's an athlete herself. Um, and like I said, she started the CrossFit gym, but I've been in her kitchen picking up my meals, and there's people there who just, go there to get the healthy meals because they don't know how to cook healthy for themselves. But my mom eats them. She doesn't work out. She just likes them and they're healthy. So even my mom eats them.
What do those meals typically look like? Are there any samples that you can recall?
I have some in the fridge if you want me to grab one.
Go for it.
Yeah. So, uh, I love mobile technology. So typically, like I'll get like 10 or 12 for the week. I don't think I can flip my camera. So like this one right here is a Derby Benedict. So it's 2 egg whites, 1 whole egg, turkey bacon, and whatever the eggs Benedict is made of. I don't know the muffin. Um, but then like that one down there is like barbecue chicken, broccoli, and sweet potato. So she rotates the menu every week, so that kind of keeps it, you're not getting tired and bored of it. But that's the cool part I like about it. Some of the other meal prep companies that I looked at, it's just the same 15 different or 20 meals every week. You just order the same thing. She gives you about 4 options, but like I said, she rotates it every week, and she'll throw some stuff in here and there and kind of switch things up. So
Very cool. So transitioning a bit back into Olympic lifting. I know previously you had mentioned you're looking to break state records in your weight class.
yes.
What are those records?
So right now, it's a big transition for Olympic lifting too, because they're going to scrap the weight classes this summer. So right now for the 85 kilogram weight class, the snatch is 116 kilos and the clean and jerk is 142. So I would obviously I'm closer to the clean and jerk kilos or clean and jerk record is 10 kilos off. But the IOC is really upset. The Olympic Committee is really upset with the sport of Olympic weightlifting because out of I want to say like it was like 37 people in the last Olympics tested positive for PEDs and 24 are weightlifters. And then like I think of those 24, like 11 were in the same weight class. So they're basically just kind of scrap it. They do this every time steroids gets bad, and they scrap the weight classes and start fresh and wipe all the records clean. So this summer in July, they're gonna come out with new weight classes. So I guess technically I really won't have a record to break. I would have one to set because there won't be a state record for my weight class yet. But it would be around the same number for me to, set it or hold it.
Have you always had, I guess, that sort of mentality where you see a record or some sort of, I guess, lofty goal and you go for it?
Uh, Kinda. It's come along more with such a tangible sport like Olympic lifting because it's directly in your hands. When I was playing football, like I never tried to break the interception record at cornerback because no matter how good I am, I can't make the quarterback throw it my way. So I just had the goal of, you're not going to catch the ball. That was always my goal. You're not going to score a touchdown, whatever it might have been. I'm going to be better than you. You're going to know it. That was my mentality of football. Cause cornerback, you're in an isolated position. So Olympic weightlifting, since the numbers are tangible, I can see them. I can see what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. At first I kind of started out was just like, I literally just talked into doing it. One of my friends that I started the barbell club with, she was like, "Hey, I think you should try Olympic weightlifting. You're pretty decent at it during CrossFit." So I was like, "Sure, I'll try this competition." Signed up for my first competition and qualified for regionals. So I was like, "Okay." So I was like, I'll give it a shot full time. And, now I'm 16 kilos from qualifying from the university nationals. It's under 28. I have to be enrolled in a class. I'll just join like University of Phoenix or something. But as long as you're under 28 and enrolled in a class, so like, it's it's progressing a lot faster than I thought it would. And I like Olympic lifting because there's a lot of room to go up the ladder. There's a lot more national stages, which is, CrossFit, there was regionals in the games and everybody, what I'm saying? Like, I was never been the best cardio person. So that's why I was never really that great at CrossFit. I was decent. I would lead a workout here and there in the gym, but never make it to regionals. But Olympic lifting, you throw the weight classes in there, which makes it somewhat fair. It makes it more competitive for, people your size too. So definitely a lot stronger than I am at cardio.
What were some of the biggest mistakes you made when you were beginning that journey into Olympic lifting?
I was definitely the ego lifting. I had already had my USAW certification at that point before I switched over because I was teaching Olympic lifting at the CrossFit gym that I was working out at. So I thought that I knew it all. I had my certification. I thought I was good at it at the time. People would try to give me pointers and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I would listen to a few here and there, but I didn't think that I needed a coach. I was trying to coach myself. And no matter how much attention to detail you pay or how keen your eye is, you still can't point out things for your own sake. Because things might feel good that day, but there's some small thing that you're doing wrong that you might not catch when you rewatch your videos that, somebody outside of you can see. So went to my first competition, went 6 for 6, qualified for regionals, went to my second competition and bombed out. I was training by myself, and everything felt like shit. So then I agreed to join on with my coaches now in a White Buffalo Barbell, and Laura and Dan, they're both been in nationals. They're fighting to get on the USAW team for the next Worlds and Olympics or the Pan Ams or whatever. And working with them has helped tremendously. They know what they're doing. They're really good at detail, and they work well as a team. So, like checking that ego and realizing that not only do I not know it all, I don't know anything. Not only did they help me in Olympic lifting, but helped me with my soon-to-be marriage too.
Yeah, it's good when things like that have a crossover effect.
Yeah, because
So
it helped a lot.
a lot of people, whether it's in Olympic lifting or just going to the gym and lifting weights, you have that beginner phase where you can, maybe this doesn't apply to Olympic lifting, but you can, literally almost do whatever you want and you're going to make progress. And then you plateau.
Yeah.
So especially for you with the weights you are lifting, which, as you mentioned, you're going after some state records, looking to get on the national scene. What is it you do to start breaking through that plateau once you hit it?
Sure. So that's where you're, I don't think I'm far enough into Olympic lifting yet to actually plateau. Because not only I'm gaining a lot of strength because I'm not doing cardio. So, with CrossFit, you would do squats or clean and jerks or whatever, snatches, but then you go do cardio, you basically tear your muscles down even more. So your muscles never got that chance to recover. Don't get me wrong, I got stronger during CrossFit. I was really strong during CrossFit, but I wasn't maximizing my strength capabilities, if you will. So I'm still growing, like my legs, they're just getting like bigger than I ever thought they would. But I'm just still growing as an athlete. So I haven't hit my ceiling yet on how strong I'm gonna get. And with that, my technique is I've been with my coaches since September, been Olympic lifting for a year, and my technique's still changing. We're still trying to figure out like what's the best route for me technical wise. So um I would say probably about another like 6 to 8 months, maybe a year in, I'll start to hit some sort of plateau. But that's where those 12-week macro cycles come into play, is that you're always like changing things every 3 months. You're going to do complexes or you're not. You're going to do this type of back squat routine, just kind of mixing it up every 3 to 4 months really prevents you from getting those. But you'll definitely plateau. But, you just got to keep pushing the envelope, maybe change things up. Um, you know, you can kind of get lazy on your routines, whether that's eating or sleeping. Things just change daily. So
You mentioned your coaches are still working with you as far as finding the best technique for you. What does that process look like? So does this depend on, for these lifts, is it dependent on your body type, or just based on finding, what is it that helps them find the best technique for you compared to someone else in the coach?
it can have a lot to do with your body type, but it also has to do with like your skill level and skill comprehension. So you know, I'm once I get out of my own head and kind of put my ego aside, I'm a really good person to coach because I've been an athlete since I was 6. So I already have good body mechanics and good body awareness. So where you can tell me to do something, it might only take me 1 or 2 times to start to pick up on what you mean, because I can picture what you mean. I can picture in my head what you're trying to say because I understand
Mm-hmm.
body mechanics. For one of the newer athletes, not only have they never Olympic lifted before, but they've never been an athlete before. Sometimes you might have to work a little bit more with them. So the pushing to the perfect technique might not be as much of a principle for them because, they have a whole lot of other things they need to fix first. So, I had a really good showing at the Arnold. Um, and I didn't realize my technique wasn't that great. But after them working on it since March, like technique just helps you improve your speed under the bar. And instead of trying to over pull and do all this stuff and get the bar really high off the ground, it's going to get to a point where you can't pull big weight that high off the ground. So if I'm trying to snatch 120 kilos, I'm going to have to get fast under the bar, which comes from improving my technique. So that's why we're changing it, because like strength wise, we know I can get there, but
Mm-hmm.
now I just have to get faster. So we're doing things to fix my technique to allow me to get under the bar faster.
Makes sense. How many types of changes do they typically attempt with you at a time?
Uh, it just depends. When I first started with them, we changed my grip, so they let me get used to that for about a month, and then it's just 1 or 2 things here or there. Um, so right now, and it's working on my original pull off the ground and from the knee to the hip, and just literally just like it's about 3 or 4 different things that we're working on at the same time to just get me under the bar faster. So like with my athletes that I coach, it's typically one thing at a time. I'll give you one cue and then I'll check in on it in a couple of days to see how it's working. But at the same time, when you send me your videos or from watching you in person, that's not the only thing that I'm looking for. I'm still making sure you're doing your basics right. So, you're found like your 4 to 5 things we teach in your very first Olympic lifting class. We're still checking on those because sometimes those do get lost once you start to, become a more complex lifter.
What does the qualifying process look like? So for someone who is looking to do their first competition, what does that process
So
look
yeah, if you just do a local competition, there is no qualification or anything like that. You just sign up and you just have to be a USAW member, United States of America weightlifting member. But to go to quote unquote what we call regionals, which is the American Open series. We call it regionals because they do one in the three different like segments of the United States. There's one on the West Coast, one in the Midwest, and then one on the East Coast. So just different weight classes has a different total that you have to hit. So for my 85 kilogram weight class, your total, which is the max clean and jerk and max snatch, has to be 203 kilos or higher. For me to go to the university nationals, which is the under 28 that I was talking about, I have to hit a 248. So right now I'm at 232. American Open Finals, which is like just another national lift, like a national stage up there with, you know, obviously not as big as Worlds, but American Open Nationals and Nationals, and it's probably like the next step. And then you have Worlds, the Pan Ams, and then the Olympics. So the Pan Am trials or Pan Am Games are for North and South America. It's equivalent to like the European Championships, the Asian Championships, and the Commonwealth, which is Australia and New Zealand. So those have like obviously a lot higher totals, but you just have to hit those at a USAW sanctioned event to be able to qualify to go to those.
Okay, that makes sense. What would you say is the biggest roadblock you've hit so far, or the biggest, obstacle you've had to overcome in your Olympic lifting journey? And what did you do to overcome it?
It's basically just life, when I first started Olympic lifting, I hadn't graduated school yet. So I would wake up at 8, study for my exams to become a licensed pharmacist. And then I'd have all day. So I'd go to the gym for 2-3 hours and honestly do whatever the hell I wanted. But then July hit, I got my license, and, hey, you got to work 12-hour shifts. So it was just, you just gotta mentally be tough. And, you're going to set a goal, and you got to stick to your schedule and stick to your plan. It's like some days it really sucks waking. Like, I do not roll out of bed at 5:15, just willy-nilly ready to go. Trying to back squat 160 kilos at 7 in the morning is not a fun thing to do. Like, I don't like doing it, but I know what my end game is. I know what my end goal is. So just mentally being there, like mentally being ready for it. Also having a really good support system has helped me overcome it too, because, not just supporters and people cheering me on in the stands, but like my fiance, like, if she knows I'm going to be having a 14-hour day, she kind of takes care of things at the house. But on my off days, I'll take care of the house. And, it's a lot, I won't say a little, it's a lot easier right now because, we don't have kids or anything. So we just got to take care of Molly, which is our dog.
Everyone got to meet Marley a couple minutes ago. Yeah. I can vouch for Kelly. We were sitting with her in the stands while you were competing, and she was very helpful for Carrie and I, who had never been to a competition before. But also, I could tell even from the stands, just watching you, she knew you were having a good night, and she knew your numbers. And whenever your numbers came up on the screen, she was like, "That's a PR for him." Like, I can tell he's feeling great tonight. So she, amazing person. I can tell she helps you out a ton.
Yeah, she does. And she's a physical therapist, so that helps me a whole lot when things go wrong, body-wise. Like, I feel bad because some days she'll just, I'll be off. I'll just have a heavy day. But she'll come home from like a 9-hour shift, and I'm like, hey, I know you just got off work and you feel like shit, but I need you to fix my hip. So
what are some of the techniques for fixing your hip?
Mainly my biggest issue, even though I work on it 2 to 3 times a week, is just my flexibility. My hamstrings are fine, like everything's fine, but my external hip flexors, they will just never loosen up. So every now and then they'll just come back to bug me. So, she's giving me different type of stretching techniques. There's a thing called scraping, which is where they take like this, like cocoa butter, and then they take like literally this hard plastic, I don't know, looks like a shark fin, and they just scrape the muscle, and it's supposed to get rid of all like the lactic acid buildup. And basically it's like just resetting the muscle. I
How does
forgot
that feel?
that hurts. Feels good the next day, but it hurts. Definitely can leave some bruises. Even if you break skin, you'll bleed a little. But it's one of those, some things you just have to do it. I've been dry needled before. I was really skeptical going in. I was terrified of dry needling. I got it on my forearm. I had two muscles that would not release. And it was actually causing a bunch of wrist pain where I was having to like cut workouts short or skip part of my workouts because I couldn't go overhead. But after I got a dry needle, those muscles relaxed and it helped the tendons release in my wrist. So just stuff like that, and just different. She's really good at like body mechanics and she can understand movement patterns. So if something's not right, she'll have me just walk or squat and can figure out what's going on. Like 2 years ago, I was having real bad knee pain, and then I thought it was tendonitis, but I ended up having like patella tracking issues. So she did this tape job, had me do it for 4 weeks, and I haven't had the knee pain since. So
What is dry needling?
So dry needling is very similar to acupuncture, but they don't I think acupuncture is more of a like Eastern medicine or Eastern technique. Working with the zen of your body and finding pressure points and that whole thing. Dry needling is like they do an evaluation and find out like what part of the muscle, like if it's tight, if it's causing pain, and they take like these acupuncture style needles, very very thin, and they literally just like dry needle and just go in through the skin and kind of massage the needle through the muscle. It sounds gross. And even sometimes they'll hook like these minor electrodes up to it and send some electric currency through it to kind of relax the muscle, but it basically just resets the muscle. So like all the tightness and all the knots and all that stuff goes away. The downfall is that you completely reset the muscle. So you lose all that tension. So, you might, it's almost like you're kind of sore the next day because you need some type of muscular tension. Obviously that's the way muscles work. So once you get it completely relaxed, sometimes you just gotta take a day off to kind of let it tighten it back up a little bit to be functional. Obviously, once it gets too tight, that's when you get the pains and the knots and stuff.
Was Kelly the one that introduced you to that, or do your coaches use it as well?
No, my coaches don't. Kelly told me about it. She's gonna get her certification. Speaking of the devil, she's gonna get her certification soon. But one of her friends is the one that did the dry needling on me.
Gotcha. And how often do you do that? Have you done it more than once?
I've only done it once. I have one of my friends. She does she goes in once a month to the physical therapy clinic and gets like an evaluation, and then they'll decide, what part or of the body she needs dry needle on the most, or if she even needs it that day. And they'll, kind of just go from there.
Gotcha.
It helps with recovery and, a bunch of stuff.
I want to transition and talk about training clients and Blackbird Barbell. So how did you get started training people?
I was doing CrossFit full time, and I kind of wanted. I was approached by the lady that I started with, Catherine Zumbrunnan. She was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting a barbell club at the gym, just to focus solely on Olympic lifting." And in CrossFit, you have your level 1 CrossFit certification, but she was like, you'd have to have your USAW, your level 1 that's focused on just Olympic lifting. So I went and signed up for the weekend class, and then after you do the class, you study and you take a test. Basically to just make sure you know what you're talking about at the most basic level. So while that helps a lot, that course obviously helped a lot. It's still a lot you have to do on your own to just kind of get as much knowledge as possible. But that's how we got started with the barbell club, and we kind of had a big interest right away. We had about like 10 people sign up immediately, and we were growing and growing before we parted ways with the gym we were at. So now we're just doing, it's remote at the moment where, I'll come meet up with you. You can come to my house. I have a barbell set up in the garage. Or, you send me videos from whatever gym you're at. I'll Skype you. I'll reply to your videos if you send them to my phone. So that's kind of how we are at the moment with remote programming and everything online.
How many people are you currently training?
I want to say about 16, something like that. It fluctuates month to month. People take off because this and that, and then get back on it. So
What's the growth plan?
at the moment, we're kind of just trying to sit tight until we have an idea of what we want. Kat has always wanted to be a gym owner. So right now we're just kind of sitting tight doing remote programming until it makes sense to take that leap. I guess fiscally and with the time issue as well. So I knew her plans from the get go when she first asked me to join her Blackbird Barbell. Um, so I just told her I'm along for the ride, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But eventually, she'd love to own her own gym, and I'd be more than happy, kind of be her VP and you know keep the barbell club running while she does everything else.
So, in between your own training, being a pharmacist, one would think you already had enough on your plate. How do you find the time in between just juggling everything to not only juggle that many different things on your plate, but also to do them all so well?
It's I guess it comes from just like never being satisfied with what you have. There's always like in the sport of Olympic weightlifting, and just because I had a good day at a competition, I'm not going to stop training because you always want to push the envelope and push the numbers and see how good you can actually be. So the same thing, goes for life. It's you just want to keep pushing and pushing to, you know, there's a lot of success and there's a lot of things to gain out here. So I just want to achieve as much as possible, leave a positive mark. You know, that's one of my things is whoever comes across me, I want them to know, like, at the end of the day, they would say, he's a very like nice and genuine person. He would try to do a lot for people at least. In terms of how to achieve them well, it all goes back to what I said earlier about your support system. Um, you know, I'm very fortunate to have a fiance who's soon to be wife who, you know, allows me to have these 14-hour days. Because I already work 12, and some people, would be very upset with me trying to work out with on top of that. Who, picks up the slack when I'm only having like a 20% good day, and she also has to work and take care of things. But it's having a family who also supports you as well. My family travels to some of my competitions, and my brother's the one that got me started in working out, so I kind of owe a lot to him too. It's take like they say, it takes a village. So while I guess you could say it all looks like I'm doing all the hard work, there's a lot of people behind me that are you know pedaling the bikes to make the lights run. I'm just standing under the lights right now.
How would you say that being a pharmacist and having that background influences your training and potentially the way you train people?
um I guess it really helps me. I guess having at least a basic understanding of the body. While I don't, pharmacists aren't trained as as well as physical therapists and medical doctors and all this stuff to understand the body. We still have some basic training. We definitely understand nutrition, so I'm able to give a lot of pointers there. Um, I would say a lot of my past experiences to help me train my athletes comes from me being an athlete. In terms of being a pharmacist, like I said, we really understand nutrition, we understand supplementation. So I'm able to give a lot of pointers in terms of proper supplementation and proper nutrition and, things like that. Uh, Also, I guess just pharmacists have that OCD tendency, just because, we have to be the ones that catch all the errors.
Hmm.
We are the ones reviewing the medical charts. We're the one basically putting all the pieces to the puzzle because you have 15 different doctors working on the same puzzle. So we're the one that has to make sure everything lines up. So that allows me to have that keen eye and that close attention to detail for my athletes. And then just the work of pharmacy is always balancing life. You always have 15 tasks to do. So that kind of carries over into my personal life outside of pharmacy to be able to handle, multiple tasks at once and still try to make everyone happy and, satisfy everything. So,
I like it. I want to be respectful of your time. I really appreciate you coming on. So I want to transition and kind of end on just some standard questions that don't necessarily relate to health and fitness, but just give us a little more insight into you and let us kind of have some fun with a few questions. So if you had to live anywhere in the world other than where you currently live, where would it be and why?
uh, I guess that's kind of a two-part question. Anywhere in the United States would probably be Charlotte. Me and my fiance visited there. We absolutely fell in love with it. Either Charlotte or Savannah. We've been to both places, and I'm going to Charlotte for my bachelor party. She's in Savannah for her bachelorette party. Those are probably two of the most beautiful cities. Kind of a Louisville-like quality, but I feel like on a more grandiose scale. But outside of the United States, it would definitely be. I don't know. We've been in Mexico a couple of times. I just love the whole vibe and the whole culture. Um, the Hispanic community is one to definitely treasure, and you can't beat the food.
That is spot on.
Yeah.
What single book would you say has had the biggest impact on your life?
It was one I read early on. It was called Monster. We had to read it for school, and I forget the author's name, but basically about like a young black kid growing up in the inner city, and just nothing goes his way. And I obviously can relate. Grew up in the West End of Louisville, single parent household, single parent household. My mom did a phenomenal job with me and my brother. Um, not trying to discredit that at all. I absolutely love my mother to death, but it was. I know there's people out there had it way worse than I did, but it was a pretty rough upbringing in terms of like trying to fight to get to where I'm at today. Whether that's the lack of educational support in the West End community, not only from the surrounding people, but the city itself, and just getting to this point. Like I said, it all comes back to the support system because my family knew that me and my brother could do some pretty cool things, and he's running his own business and buying real estate and doing that and supervise at Humana. And I just got started in my career, so um, that was I kind of relate a lot to that book. To at the end of the day, it's gonna be bad, but a lot of people have it bad, so just got to get it done.
Definitely gonna Google and find the author and make sure we link to that. That way everyone can check it out.
Yeah.
What innovation in human civilization would you say you're most looking forward to in your lifetime?
Space travel, like legit, not to the moon, but
Same.
I wanna. You see all these things, and there's stuff out there, and my curiosity just wants me to know what's out there, whether that's like another Earth where everyone looks like you, and it's just like alternate universes, or I just want to see what other living beings on other planets look like. Very curious if we're just like this little brother planet that they're just watching like a big episode of TV on, just making fun of us. I have no idea, but I'm very curious to space travel.
When that first flight to Mars becomes available, are you hopping on?
No, I want further than that. There's nothing on Mars. I want different galaxies, different solar systems.
Man, I relate to that a ton. I constantly think about stuff like that. Just how cool would it be just to like take off and go to like some distant galaxy and just see what the hell is there?
Yeah.
I love it. What is one life altering change that a person can make in 10 minutes a day that you would recommend?
I guess I feel like all things that you're gonna change in life have to start mentally. So just mentally be prepared that whatever you set to do in life or whatever goal you're gonna set, it's not easy for anyone. That's the thing I've always kept in the back of my mind. you can kind of get down on yourself, and when things happen, why me? But there's a lot of bad things happening to a lot of really good people. So just mentally be prepared that it's gonna rain and it's gonna pour, but you just got to keep fighting and get through it. And I know that's easier said than done, because I wouldn't have made it to any success that I've had in life, no matter what that was graduating high school, college, being all state, being all conference, getting away into it. The everything in my life I've owed to the support of other people. Um, I still have to do the work, but I haven't done any of this on my own. But just being mentally prepared that some nights you're gonna feel alone, but you just got to keep driving through it and pushing through it. Whatever you want to do in life, you just got to mentally be prepared that it's gonna suck, but you got to get through the suck.
I think that's very good advice to end on. Antonio, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, speak with us. You are a very knowledgeable, very humble, very, very strong individual. Where can people find out more about you and more about Blackbird Barbell and your training?
Definitely, I appreciate you having me on. But my Instagram is Booker0135. There you'll find a lot of my day-to-day lifting. I like to post to kind of keep everybody up to date on how my training is going. You'll find videos of my competitions, and you also find lots of pictures of my beautiful wife-to-be and our dog. Blackbird Barbell, it's just on Instagram as well, at Blackbird Barbell. We also have a Facebook page and a website that we're currently working on. Once we get solidified with our location, we'll have a more solid address or website. But that's a good way to contact us on Facebook, Instagram, if you're interested in joining us. And like I said, we do remote programming, whether it's live video or face to face. I'll always meet with my clients for personal sessions.
Love it. I will have links to all of those in the show notes. Antonio, again, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too. Take care.